Hi there, I'm Mr. Pete. I am a fourth grade teacher, and I'm currently reading Holes by Louis Sachar. We are about to start chapter 21, and whew, holy cow, things are happening. Stanley got blamed for stealing sunflower seeds that he didn't steal. He got taken to the warden. Instead of punishing him, the warden slapped Mr. Sir in the face. She had just put rattlesnake venom fingernail polish on her fingers. Who does that? And there was 3 scratches on the left side of Mr. Sir's face. And of course, he collapsed in a huge amount of pain. And then Stanley is now walking back to his hole. What is going on? Chapter 21. Let's not waste any time. It was a long walk back to his hole, I guess. Oh, setting, heading back to the hole. Stanley looked out through the haze of heat and dirt at the other boys, lowering and raising their shovels. Group D was the farthest away. He realized that once again he would be digging long after everyone else had quit. He hoped he'd finished before Mr. Sir recovered. He didn't want to be out there alone with Mr. Sir. "He won't die," the warden had said. "Unfortunately for you." Walking across the desolate wasteland, Stanley thought about his great-grandfather, not the pig stealer, but the pig stealer's son, the one who was robbed by Kissin' Kate Barlow. He tried to imagine how he must have felt after Kissin' Kate had left him stranded in the desert. It probably wasn't a whole lot different from the way he himself felt now. Kate Barlow had left his great-grandfather to face the hot, barren desert. The warden had left Stanley to face Mr. Sir. Sort of a parallel. This is kind of cool. Somehow his great-grandfather had survived for 17 days before he was rescued by a couple of rattlesnake hunters. He was insane when they found him. Highlight insane, that means crazy. When he was asked how he had lived so long, he said he found refuge on God's thumb. He spent nearly a month in a hospital. He ended up marrying one of the nurses. Nobody ever knew what he meant by God's thumb, including himself. So that section right there is an anecdote. He's remember a story about his great-grandfather, not the pig stealer, the one who got robbed by Kissin' Kate Barlow. And he realized that he was left kind of in this isolated part of the desert by Kissin' Kate Barlow, the same way that he was left in the desert by the warden. And now they're going to have to face, in his case, Mr. Sir. In his great-grandfather's case, he had to face, just death. And he was discovered. Apparently, he found this place called God's Thumb. And he ended up meeting his wife. Was he at the wrong place at the wrong time, too? Stanley heard a twitching sound. He stopped in mid-step, with one foot still in the air. A rattlesnake lay coiled beneath his foot. Its tail was pointed upward, rattling. Stanley backed his leg away, then turned and ran. The rattlesnake didn't chase after him. It had rattled its tail to warn him to stay away. "Thanks for the warning," Stanley whispered as his heart pounded. The rattlesnake would be a lot more dangerous if it didn't have a rattle. Seems like foreshadowing something. So will he run into some trouble without a rattle? "Hey, caveman," called Armpit, "you're still alive." "What'd the warden say?" asked X-Ray. "What did you tell her?" asked Magnet. "I told her I stole the seeds," said Stanley. "Good going," said Magnet. "What'd she do?" asked Zigzag. Stanley shrugged one shoulder. "Nothing. She got mad at Mr. Sir for bothering her." He didn't feel like going into details. If he didn't talk about it, then maybe it didn't happen. He went over to his hole, and to his surprise, it was nearly finished. He stared at it, amazed. It didn't make any sense. Or perhaps it did. He smiled. Since he had taken the blame for the sunflower seeds, he realized the other boys had dug his hole for him. "Hey, thanks," he said. "Don't look at me," said X-Ray. Confused, Stanley looked around, from Magnet to Armpit to Zigzag to Squid. None of them took credit for it. Then he turned to Zero, who had been quietly digging in his hole since Stanley's return. Zero's hole was smaller than all the others. Who dug the hole for Stanley? Why do you think he dug the hole for Stanley? And how do you know he dug the hole for Stanley? We'll find out in the next chapter, but we're going to stop right there. Just an interesting chapter where he was thinking about like his family, his great-grandfather, instead of his no good, dirty, rotten pig, stealing great-great-grandfather. Props to all of you said that with me. And he realized that, you know, his great-grandfather was in a very similar situation as he was out in the desert. And just an interesting connection. And then Stanley almost stepped on a rattlesnake but heard the rattle and wondered like how much trouble he would be in if he didn't hear the rattle. And then, of course, we find out that someone dug his hole and why. All right, so please leave comments below. Who do you think it is? Why would you think that this person would do that? All right, I'm going to stop there so that we can get on to the next chapter, because what's going to happen next? Something. What's going to happen when Mr. Sir comes back? Oh, dear Stanley. All right, thank you so much for reading along with me. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave comments. Make sure that you do all the things that help out the channel, gain more followers, so that we can absolutely have those awesome conversations that we should have with every great book. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next page. Peace.